Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Lam here. In today's Fuji Friday, we definitely have a lot of news to go over, so let's go ahead and get right into it. The first thing that I do want to discuss is some firmware updates for the X-T3 and the X-Pro3. I'll just go ahead and put the release notes on the screen, that way I don't have to read them out to you, but for the X-Pro3, it looks like they're fixing some bugs. The only thing I would caution you here is that if your X-Pro3 is working perfectly, you have not actually seen any of these bugs, you can kind of consider this firmware update optional. I am kind of leery about updating firmware on my cameras, especially if they're working perfectly, because I have noticed with so many cameras around that sometimes when you do update firmware updates, it does affect other features that you use heavily. And this goes right into the X-T3, in which they're actually playing around with autofocus again. It seems like they're always constantly enhancing it, which can be a good thing, but if you go back and watch my vlog, I believe it's 106, I was actually doing some testing and it did actually affect autofocus for video in bright situations where you weren't using ND filters. And it's going on till this day. I actually still get messages from people asking about that vlog because they updated their firmware on their X-T3 and they're noticing the situation. Not everybody knows to use ND filters when they're filming in bright sunlight. So there are definitely times when you have to be cautious about updating your firmware on your camera, especially when everything's working perfectly. As for myself, I will be updating to that firmware and I'll definitely be doing a video test in bright sunlight to see if the problem of recording video while in bright sunlight without an ND filter, whether or not the autofocus is still hunting quite a bit. If you own either of those cameras, definitely check out the firmware updates and see whether or not you want to update your camera. So the next news item to report is we do have some details about the X100V, V as in 5, and I just want to share with you some specs that might be interesting to you. So it's got the new 26 megapixel sensor, it's got a new lens, better screens, it's got a tilty screen, which some people don't like. I'm not sure why they wouldn't like a tilty screen, because honestly, if you don't like the tilting, then just don't use the tilty screen, but I've always found that to be very useful. It also has 4K video and 120p slow motion, so it definitely has the video specs. So one feature in the X100V that I wish was in other XT cameras, and that's the 4 stops of ND filters that's built into this camera. It's just such a nice feature to have, especially for video, being able to block a lot of sunlight when you're filming outside. It's definitely something on my wish list for all of the XT cameras, especially if you're a video focused shooter. Hopefully they'll bring that out in other XT cameras. The last thing to talk about is that it is using the standard battery that's currently out for all the XT cameras, so it will not be getting the new battery that's going to be coming with the X-T4. Which is a good segue into talking about some more rumors about the X-T4. We just got confirmation from fujirumors.com that the X-T4 will be getting a fully articulating screen, so a selfie screen. So this is definitely something that's going to be super useful for vloggers and anybody that's actually doing solo content. A lot of times professionals will be working alone and they want to frame a specific situations, like for example, you'll be interviewing somebody. What you'll normally do is you'll go to a place and start setting up the composition. You don't really want to bother the interviewee, so what you're going to do is you're going to set up the shot. You're going to use yourself as a prop to set up the proper composition, and once everything is set up, you can go ahead and bring the interviewee into the shot, do some minor adjustments, and go ahead and film the interview. It's just really useful all around for video. So I'm really glad that they're getting the selfie screen. One other thing that got reported is February 26th will be the announcement date for the X-T4, which means that they're going to allow probably a month or two for pre-order. So we're probably expecting sometime in March or late March in which we actually see the X-T4 shipped, which is still pretty early. So definitely excited about that. All right, moving on to the last subject, and this one's kind of interesting, which is Fujifilm's bringing out a new lens in the XC line. So this is the budget line. This is the 35mm XC lens, which is a 50mm equivalent in terms of focal length. And the reason why I bring this up is that this is a budget conscious lens, but it has the same image quality as its XF brother on the F2 line for prime lenses. This is something that's really interesting because I think what you're seeing here is that companies like Viltrox bringing out autofocus lenses for the Fujifilm systems at amazing prices is starting to make Fujifilms build more budget conscious lenses, but they retain the same image quality as some of their more expensive prime lenses. And this is great news for everybody in the community and all new users coming in, because that means you're going to get some really great quality for very good prices. So this is something that I'm looking forward to seeing. Hopefully it actually works out. That's definitely something to look forward to. I really hope that they actually flesh out the entire budget prime lens line for new users coming in, because their prime lenses are usually pretty terrific, and their digital image stabilization, which is something that they're really working towards, they can make it so that these prime lenses do have some sort of stabilization, which is going to be like the best of every world. So definitely something to look forward to for the Fujifilm's community. Anyhow, that's all I have for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.